In the USA, teachers report reading, writing and math ability has declined significantly, so what will be the consequences on society of a generation of HS graduates who have poor literacy skills? My friend does hospital registration. A woman brought her teenage son in, and his first name was spelled urine. When my friend was understandably confused and asked why she'd name her child after a bodily waste fluid, the woman got offended and said his name is pronounced Urian. A nurse then came up and asked him for a Urian sample, pointing to the label on the cup. This is a consequence of poor literacy. People are naming their children after piss because they can spell, or have a large enough vocabulary to need to learn the skill. 54% of Americans already read at or below a 6th grade level, so we are already living in a population with terrible English and math skills, and we all try to help the people in it out, but we can't fix decades of poor education because the people that have been screwed by this system loathe education. America also has a growing inequality issue, like most of the world, so I think that we are entering an economy where there will be low-skilled drones dying to serve the rich that live in gated communities away from all of the problems they caused. We're already seeing the results. Many young people want good jobs but don't have the qualifications for them. Many others want to be gamers, streamers, influencers, YouTubers, content creators, etc., and that only works for a few of them. No one knows that they're going to do in a few years when that doesn't works out. Some could start taking things seriously and study something, if they can even afford to do it. The rest, well, they're going to be kind of fucked. I have worked in IT for almost 15 years, which means I have worked in a lot of large office environments and I work closely with people from every department. I already encounter a lot of people who are able to read something, but not actually understand it. And this isn't an issue with a certain age group or generation, it is across the board. The problem is only going to get worse as time goes on. The consequences won't show themselves for a few years, but we might find a shortage of more skilled professional workers than before. Might find a shortage of nurses, teachers, doctors, etc. I mean, I'm sure there's already a shortage, but it'll just get worse. X200B. The problem with bad grades don't start really showing themselves until after high school and into college. The bigger concern is, in order to think critically, it's important to learn about thinking and learning about abstract concepts. That's why math and STEM is so important. If you struggle to read and do math, I guarantee you this will definitely contribute to even more political insecurity in America due to the lack of the ability for people to think critically for themselves. The jobs that require more literacy also require higher education, so it won't matter much. I'm sure the physical labor jobs and even mechanics won't be affected much. The best mechanic I ever knew couldn't read. My parents received happy birthday cards on Christmas from him sometimes, haha. That said, minimum wage jobs will have a lot more competition, meaning lower wages. More people will get ripped off. Poor understanding of compounding interest is one reason some Americans get financing deals on homes and vehicles that are so terrible they're mired in debt they have no hope of paying off. Poor reading skills will open the door to more people being fooled by employment or housing contracts, which are confusing enough as it is. Teachers have been saying this since the dawn of teaching. The 60s the students were so drugged out our country and the world was doomed. The 50s rock and roll would rot our children's minds. Every era the students got dumber and less respectful. That's sarcasm for some of you that are dumber and less respectful than the generation before. The actual reading ability of most students has increased. The gap between most students and some students with factors impacting their learning, language, disability, economic disadvantage, etc. has increased. School has gotten really good for those it works for. It is a challenge making it work for those it doesn't. I'm a teacher and I think this generation gets treated unfairly. My students are generally very kind, inquisitive, and intelligent. They're bombarded with messaging, both negative and positive. Give them a chance to grow up. AMD, I think we'll be just fine as a country. I'm excited for their in our future. I mean, when 99% of people are living well and rich, there's not much reason for them to be well educated except the active percentage class of working students. There's not enough space and jobs to fit all of them anyways, so it's not necessary to show it off even if you know you can be an A student. Education system needs to be improved. On the other end, every generation has gotten shit on as they're growing up. Yet it always feels like it's the oldest generation fucking everything up. I'm not buying the younger generation will be dumber than the boomers we have running shit now. The operative word is graduate. In past generations, low-functioning students dropped out and were no part of the statistic. Now, with graduation rates much higher, The overall rate is lower due to high school dropouts completing their credits. They'll be underprepared for life and they'll know it. And nervous people are much easier to influence with propaganda. Especially if you've made sure they never learn critical thinking skills and the school system is funding you gutted. I'd like to see the statistics on this claim. It doesn't seem right, to be honest. I'd read your response in the AP article, but your assumption that the children will never catch up remains just that. An assumption. Possibly more visas to bring in qualified individuals from other countries. More Americans working in low-paying jobs and asking for higher minimum wages. Wider gap between the haves and the have-nots. But there are mama bears homeschooling their littles, which really means taking them to Target all day and posting their hauls on TikTok and calling it real life education. Hooray for all of us. Weird, it's not like conservatives have been systematically attacking education for the last 30 years or so. The uneducated are easier to control. My guess is fascist capitalism. You're currently seeing it. The decline has been happening for a lot longer than has been publicized. See how many people are still for Trump? The people who can read aren't voting for him. Consequences of an overall dumber population? Easier sheep to manipulate? Rampant birth rates, brought about through ignorance of sexual education, to fill the labor shortages. A lot more remedial work in college. The amount the Cal State system has to do is ridiculous. It means that those who can read and write well are going to have advantages. It doesn't matter. We're all fucked. We're trapped on a dying planet, and people won't stand up for themselves against the one oligarchy, so, we're just fucked. Our kids will be just smart enough to work the factories but too dumb to fight for their rights or better life. I'm sure that is completely an accident. It will compete for minimum wage jobs with all of the new immigrants. The middle class will disappear to AI and automation. The rich will get richer. Most adults only use middle school level reading math skills anyways. All because we learned it doesn't mean it is used. I think they will do alright. They won't comprehend the things they read properly like a contract. It'll take one sly person to get them into signing something and getting screwed. If you are in a role that has you reading job applications, you will soon see those consequences. People cannot make change, either. Have you ever watched the film Idiocracy? That will explain a lot. And there is subreddit dedicated to how close it is to reality. I teach a class of 29 fifth graders. 3 read at grade level. 22 are reading between kindergarten and second grade levels. Their economic outlook and resilience will be even worse. They won't have the skills to work and function as adults. Just go into any discussion for MCU or Star Wars movies and apply that level of stupidity to an entire population. Remedial classes at community colleges will be jam-packed. A few more teaching positions opening up for sure. Have you seen the movie Idiocracy? It's slowly becoming a documentary. That is where we are headed. Even more useful idiots voting for freebies and cuz emotions, just what this country needs more of. I'm guessing crime will go up, ESP from teens and young adults who have little job career prospects. It's okay, there is TikTok now. Who needs literacy when you have annoying AI voices speaking to you? More Republicans being elected because the electorate is too ignorant to do their own thinking. Big problem in the age of AI, both literacy and numeracy deficits. Higher risk of dystopia. They all gonna be YouTubers, or Twitch streamers. Blue collars hate this simple trick. Shouldn't it work hand in hand that the same teachers reporting this are failing as well? Look at society today. Look around at the politics, the entertainment. You're seeing it. Based upon the lack of common control exhibited, I'd say total communications breakdown. Continued wealth disparity as a larger proportion of the population is less valuable. My company won't be able to fire me and replace me with someone cheaper in 15 years. More laborers for construction. Huge W for my industry because it's tough out here. The consequences are we have to deal with idiots that use you for everything. QMeme where we used to teach Latin but now teach remedial English. No child left behind in COVID have been a disaster for young adults. The world will stop requiring reading, writing and math ability. Obviously the bar will be lowered until literacy rate improves. A lot of mouth breathers sucking up good air and multiplying. WTF does consequences mean? Do you English bro? Lol fail.